All right, let's jump right into what is probably the biggest, most fascinating debate in tech right now. What is AI really? And the wildest part is that even the brilliant people who are building this stuff, well, they can't seem to agree on an answer.
So it all boils down to this one question, and it's a question that really splits the AI world in two. When you're chatting with an AI, like ChatGPT, is there any actual understanding happening on the other end? And let me tell you, the answers you get from the experts could not be more different.
In one corner, you've got folks like Adam Brown over at Google's DeepMind. For them, the answer is just a straight-up, powerful yes. They're convinced that what we're seeing right now is the beginning of something totally new, a genuine, new form of intelligence.
But then, in the other corner, you have a heavyweight like Yann LeCun, who's the chief AI scientist at Meta. And his take, he thinks we're all being fooled by a really, really clever illusion. He argues that these systems don't have any real deep connection to reality. So let's dig into his argument because it's pretty compelling.
Okay, so LeCun's whole argument really starts by looking under the hood at the technology that's powering all these incredible new AI tools.
You've heard the term, right? LLM, or Large Language Model. The easiest way to think about it is like a giant, super-powered pattern-matching machine. It's what's called a neural network, which is kinda loosely inspired by our brains, but it's trained to do one very specific thing, a thing that LeCun believes is actually pretty limited.
And here's how that training actually works. It's basically a simple loop, but it's repeated just an astronomical number of times. The AI reads trillions of words from the internet that it just tries to guess the next word in a sentence. If it gets it right, it gets a little reward. If it's wrong, it adjusts. And it just does this over and over and over again, billions of times. That's it. It's essentially a massive game of predict the next word.
And this is the absolute core of LeCun's critique. All of this learning, it happens entirely within the world of text. The AI never sees anything, it never touches anything, it never interacts with the physical world. So it might know the word apple, but it has no idea what an apple tastes like or feels like or smells like. Its knowledge isn't grounded in reality.
Now, the amount of text we're talking about here is it's staggering. A typical large language model is trained on something in the ballpark of 30 trillion words.
And to try and wrap your head around that number, LeCun himself did the math. He said it would take one of us about 500,000 years of nonstop reading to get through all that material. It is an unbelievable amount of data. But, and this is the big question, is it the right kind of data?
And this is where it gets really, really interesting. Let's compare that to a human child. By the time a kid is just 4 years old, they've processed way, way more data from their senses, sight, sound, touch, all of it, than an LLM has processed in text. And that sensory data is what grounds their understanding of the world. It's the difference between reading the word rain and actually feeling it on your skin. That physical experience, it creates this rich, complex understanding that words on a screen just can't match.
So, for someone like LeCun, who's been in this field for decades, this all feels a bit like déjà vu. He points out that AI has gone through these big hype cycles before. Back in the 50s, the 80s, a new technology comes along, everyone gets super excited and thinks we're on the brink of true AI, but then it hits a wall. He thinks we're just in another one of those cycles, being wowed by a machine that's just gotten incredibly good at shuffling words around.
Okay, but what about the other side of this debate? Because a whole lot of very smart people are looking at this and saying, no, this time is completely different.
And their core argument is this really powerful idea called emergent understanding. The theory goes like this. In order to get so good at just predicting the next word, the AI is actually forced to build a genuine model of the world inside its network. You can't just fake it at this scale. To be able to consistently predict what a human will say next across any topic with near-perfect accuracy, well, the argument is that the system has to develop a real understanding of the concepts behind the words. They believe intelligence literally emerges from this simple task.
And the proof, they say, is in the pudding. I mean, look at the results. We're seeing these systems achieve superhuman performance in all sorts of areas. They can play chess at a level that crushes the best grandmasters. They're solving math problems from the International Maths Olympiad that stump even genius-level mathematicians. They can write poetry, give legal advice. In domain after domain, they're not just matching us, they're blowing past us.
So for people like Adam Brown, this is all the evidence they need. The progress we've seen, especially in just the last 5 years, has been absolutely exponential. It's been so fast, so dramatic, that it feels like we're on a trajectory to something way, way bigger than just a clever chatbot.
Okay, so if Yann LeCun is right, and LLMs aren't the path to true intelligence, then what is? Well, this is where he lays out his own vision for the future, and it's a completely different approach to building AI.
He calls it physical AI. The idea is to build systems that learn about the world not from text, but from sensory data, just like we do. Think about it. Instead of reading a physics textbook, an AI could learn about gravity and momentum by watching millions of hours of video of things falling, bouncing, and rolling. It would build an intuitive understanding of the physical world by just observing it.
And this chart really lays out the difference, right? We're talking about a total paradigm shift. The learning source goes from text to video and other sensors. The main goal isn't just predicting the next word anymore. It's predicting what happens next in the world. And that means the key skill evolves from just conversation to actual planning and reasoning. It's the difference between an AI that can tell you the rules of chess and an AI that can look at a board and figure out a winning strategy.
So the new kind of architecture LeCun's team is working on is called JPA. Now, without getting too deep in the weeds, the key idea is that it's designed to learn abstract ideas about how the world works. This lets it predict what's likely to happen next and actually plan things out, without getting bogged down in every single tiny, irrelevant detail.
Okay, so you might be thinking, this is a really interesting technical debate, but why does it matter to me? Well, it matters a whole lot, because it gets right to the heart of the real-world risks of all this technology.
LeCun thinks that all the talk about science fiction doomsday scenarios, evil robot overlords, is kind of a distraction. The biggest risk, he says, isn't that. It's something much more immediate and much more subtle. It's about the concentration of power.
And this is the question he poses, and it's a really important one. What does it mean for our culture, for our democracy, if all the information we consume, everything we read, watch, and interact with online, is funneled through AI systems that are built and controlled by just a handful of companies in a couple of places in the world?
So what's the answer? Well, for LeCun, the best safeguard is to make sure this technology is open. He's a huge advocate for open source AI. His argument is that we need a huge diversity of AI assistants out there, coming from all sorts of different people and places, for the exact same reason we need a diverse and independent press.
And that really leaves us right back where we started, with this fundamental question. What is true intelligence? Is it about mastering language, being able to manipulate words and ideas flawlessly? Or is it about having a deep, physical, grounded understanding of how the world actually works? How we answer that question, well, that's going to shape everything that comes next.